Hello, and welcome to The People's Recorder. I'm your host, Chris Haley, and this is the podcast that explores the work and the legacy of the Federal Writers Project, a 1930s government agency that set out to document the lives of everyday Americans. The project raised as many questions as it answered in its quest to hold up a mirror to America. Questions I've been thinking about since I started working on this podcast, and even before in my work as a historian and archivist. Questions like, how do we tell our history? And who gets to decide what history gets told? These questions are front and center for me today because we have an important update. Up until now, the People's Recorder has been supported by state humanities councils and the National Endowment for the Humanities. But sweeping federal cuts have hit all of our partners hard, and with them, our project. This includes support for the People's Recorder. Like hundreds of other projects and organizations, our grant was recently canceled. It's a tough moment, especially as we approach the 250th anniversary of the United States. It's also a powerful reminder of why this work matters. Back in 1965, when Congress established the NEH, it recognized that understanding one another across differences through shared stories and cultures is essential to a healthy democracy. That truth still holds, and that's what the People's Recorder is all about. We started this podcast to carry forward the spirit of the Writers Project, to lift up voices history too often leaves out, and to celebrate the promise of America, not just its myths. And let me be clear, the People's Recorder isn't going anywhere. We're committed to the stories we're telling, and in fact, we're doubling down. We're producing a special trilogy of episodes called Gospel of Fear. These episodes will take a deep dive through time to an America reeling from economic instability and fractured by deep cultural and political divides, where fear becomes a political weapon, where disinformation spreads, and anyone who pushes back is labeled disloyal. Sound familiar? It should. It's not the first time we've experienced this. But we're not looking at the 1950s, McCarthyism, or the Red Scare. We're going back even further to the 1930s, to another time when the country stood at a crossroads, and the battle over its future played out through both bold public programs and bitter political backlash. And that brings us to Martin Dies, a little-known Texas congressman who rose to national power as the first chair of the House Un-American Activities Committee, or HUAC, as most of us know it today. Dies used a new technology, radio, to stir up fears of a communist infiltration. He painted New Deal programs, including the Writers Project, as dangerous to the American way of life. In his eyes, any government program that mentioned labor rights, racism, or pluralism wasn't just controversial. It was subversive, un-American even. Let's just say that if Martin Dies were around today, he might have labeled these programs woke. For him, anything that made America take a hard look at itself was a threat. So again, we come back to the same questions. How do we tell our story, and who gets to decide? Martin Dies had an answer. He believed it should be him. Only he could make America great again. The irony isn't lost on us. The fight that led to the shutdown of the Federal Writers Project is the same one we're having today. If we want to understand how we got here, to this moment of book bans, disinformation campaigns, and truth itself on trial, we need to know where the playbook came from. The tactics weren't new, but Martin Dies knew how to sharpen them. Gospel of Fear traces how the politics of fear and disinformation took root in the 1930s, and how that same playbook still drives today's fights over truth, identity, and democracy. Recognizing the pattern matters, because historical literacy isn't about nostalgia, it's about defense. Gospel of Fear is a call to remember and to reckon with the stories that shaped who we are. We're still deep in production, but today we're sharing something special. A sneak peek at the teaser for Gospel of Fear, a People's Recorder deep dive.
We want education, not indoctrination.
Book bans, disinformation wars, media crackdowns.
Are you concerned you may have
I'm not concerned
indictments?
about anything because it's a hoax. You are the enemy of the people.
These tactics might feel new, but they're not. They've been part of the American playbook for decades.
It's either you're with us or you're not with us.
This is an invasion. This country was built without illegal aliens in it.
Those in Washington have allowed the anarchists to take over.
Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? I will open my beliefs and
I'll
take this
destroy.
man away from this thing.
Congress sets up a special committee to investigate un-American propaganda activities in the United States. Martin Dies of Texas is the first chairman.
During the Great Depression, with the country on edge, Martin Dies seized on fear. He branded President Roosevelt's New Deal a communist threat and targeted anyone who challenged him as un-American. As chair of the first House Un-American Activities Committee, Dies built a playbook of disinformation, media spectacle, and political intimidation, a strategy designed to silence and control.
This investigation must go on without fear or favor to the enemies of our country.
Dies wrapped it all in the flag, turning patriotism into a weapon to shut down reform and enforce his own grip on power.
Martin Dies wanted one thing. He wanted to be powerful. And Martin Dies was really good at frightening people.
Franklin Roosevelt represented, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. The person who was preaching the gospel of fear was Martin Dies.
Gospel of Fear investigates how a political playbook rooted in disinformation, exclusion, and control took hold in the 1930s and never really let go. Its echoes are everywhere.
You challenge their Americanism, and it's the lowest thing.
After what they did to me, whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people.
You're looking for a fair process? You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
This three-part series helps decode the moment we're in by confronting the history that shaped it. Gospel of Fear, a People's Recorder deep dive. Coming soon wherever you get your podcasts. We're aiming to release Gospel of Fear early next year, just in time for America's big 250th birthday. But between now and then, we've got something else for you. Over the years, we've conducted dozens of interviews, some you've heard in this series, some in our award-winning documentary, Soul of a People, but many you haven't heard at all. We'll be rolling out a special collection of those conversations, starting with an interview with presidential historian Douglas Brinkley. That interview and many more were conducted by writer and creative director Andrea Kalin. She'll be introducing each one and sharing some behind-the-scenes stories. One of them will involve martinis. A good part of these interviews will be available for free on our feed, but to hear the full conversations, please consider joining our new Patreon channel. Especially now, as we are continuing without our NEH grant, every bit of support helps us keep the stories coming and out in the world where they belong. And as a thank you, we'll be sharing full interviews, bonus episodes, Ask Me Anything events, and more. Learn more about our Patreon and other ways you can support the People's Recorder in the show notes or on our website, peoplesrecorder.info. And if you're liking the show, we'd love it if you could leave a quick rating or review wherever you're listening. It only takes a second, but it really helps more people find us. So buckle up. It's going to be quite the ride. And we're so glad you're on it with us. And before we go, I'll leave you to think about these two questions. How do we tell our history? And who gets to decide what history gets told? Because the answers matter. They shape who we are and who we choose to become. This is Chris Haley. Thanks for listening.